This tutorial will help you to complete the questions on the Delta Math assignment about reflections. This assignment works on reflecting points over an actual axis. So let's take a look at this first question. It says the point G is plotted on the coordinate grid below. Plot the point G prime, which would be the reflection of G, over the x-axis. So this is really important to know where the x-axis is. So we're going to reflect it or jump or flip it over this x number line. So if we were to fold our screen in half right along this line, G prime, the new point, will be an exact overlap to where G would fold to. So here's the trick. Count the number of spaces from the original G point down to the axis of symmetry. 1, 2, 3, 4. So instead of being 4 units up, my new point G prime is going to be 4 units down. So count from the axis of symmetry, from the number line, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's where you're going to put G prime. So when you're using the Delta Math screen, you simply click from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, click one time, and that's where you put your point. Once you get the coordinates of that point, which are how far on the x number line are you? 3. How far down the y number line are you? -4. That will be, that would be the coordinates for my new point. That's my G prime, 3, -4. My original point was located at 3, +4. So take a look at how the numbers are similar and how they're different. So it looks like our x-coordinate stays the same, and our y-coordinate is similar, but not exactly the same. So when a point is reflected over the x-axis, the y-coordinate changes signs. Fantastic. 4 units up, 4 units down. Let's try another one. All right, this time we're going to reflect over the y-axis. Please make sure you're reading your question carefully so you don't go in the wrong direction. So take your mouse and count from W to the line of symmetry, which is the y-axis. So 1, 2, 3 units. Now we're going to count again in the other direction. 1, 2, 3 units. Let's take some notes. Our original coordinate for W was -3 on the x, +5 on the y. -3, +5. And our new coordinate for W is +3, +5. +3, what am I talking? Yes, +3, +5. All right, so look, our digits are very similar, but our x-coordinate has different signs. So when a point is reflected over the y-axis, it changes the opposite sign, right? Because a reflection is always an opposite. So it changes the x-coordinate. If you reflect over y, you change the sign of x. If you reflect over x, you change the sign of y. One more time. I think you're getting the hang of it. First, we're going to read the question and we are going to find G prime, which is a reflection over the y-axis. Be very careful. So this is the axis I want to jump to. So here we go. 1, 2. Keep going. 1, 2. So my original point was 2, -6. And my new point is -2, -6. So when a point is reflected over the y-axis, the x-coordinate changes signs. And that is how you graph points being reflected over an axis. Now let's try shortening this up a bit. What if I were to ask you to reflect, but I didn't give you a coordinate plane or a drawing? Do you remember the rules from the last lesson? So if I have the point E, which is 2, 5, and I want to reflect it over the x-axis, if I'm reflecting over the x-axis, that means I'm changing my y-coordinate. So my x-coordinate stays the same, but my y-coordinate will change signs. So hopefully you remember that from the last lesson we just did. So my x-coordinate changes, my y-coordinate, because that's the opposite of x, right? My y-coordinate will change signs. Fantastic. Let's do it again. Read carefully. Reflect over the y-axis. So if I reflect over the y-axis, the x-coordinate has to change signs. So first I copied the numbers. For and -3, I copied the numbers, and then I decided who changes signs. Ooh, this one is pretty complicated. It says it's reflected over the y-axis to create point U. Okay, if I go over the y-axis, I change the sign of the x-coordinate. But then it goes on to say it's now reflected over the x-axis to create point U double prime. Okay, so I'm going to change this number to reflect over the x-axis. And if you flip over the x-axis, you change the y-coordinate. We did it. All right, let's try another one, because that last one was a double whammy. All right, this one looks like it's just a U prime. Okay, this is a basic one. Copy the coordinates, and now let's start to think. Point U is reflected over the y-axis. Well, if you flip over y, you change the x-coordinate. There we go. Let's do another one. Ooh, this looks like a double one. Okay, first let's start by copying the coordinates. All right, got that done. Now, first step is reflect over the y-axis, right? Reflect over the y-axis. If you reflect over y, you change the x. Okay. Point R prime is then reflected over the x-axis to create point R double prime. All right. R is reflected over the x-axis, so when you flip over the x, you change the y. All right. That concludes our lesson on reflecting points either graphically or just by using their coordinates.